Oh, that's.
We will echo like crazy until I.
Oh, sure. Hang on, Max. Hang on. Wait a minute here.
We so it's.
Yeah, it feels all good.
There.
So now you're live streaming
Yeah,
and you're live.
we have to get rid of that. Okay. All right.
Hey, Julie, thank you so much. Maggie.
Maggie, we got to put this here. Now wants another one.
Well, she's had several.
I would love to be. Bye, next. Goodbye, next. Goodbye.
One walk on the road.
One walk on the road. There you go.
You got a call that time.
I got a couple weeks by that time.
Okay, Maggie.
Yeah, bags gonna be empty afterwards. See?
Hannah called her princess.
I like that. It's pretty. You know what? I'm back. I'll see you later. See you later, baby. It's all good. All good.
Hey, Jan.
Maggie.
It's a long. It's happy. How are you? Monster there.
Happy New Year.
You.
Yeah.
There are agendas. We are live, everyone.
Wow.
Yeah, this call where you come Saturday.
Oh, I don't know.
Thank you.
I haven't seen anybody.
That's for the, that's for the public. I know, he was there.
Feel the need to sign in. It's natural.
I got your name already on the. Yeah. My son, thanks you.
Did you end the change at all from when you sent it?
They tried beer this year, because they said beer next year. And now I think Connecticut. Bottom line is it fed us, it fed the neighbors, and it's.
Paul, I'm not gonna be sitting in front of the computer. I'm gonna be sitting with others and there's no owl to move around, but we see you, but you won't see me. Okay?
I'm gonna turn my video off too.
I have to sit over here to hear. It's so hard for me to hear over there. Okay. One more minute and I'll call this meeting.
It's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
Oh, I'm looking up there. Okay, all right.
But real time.
Let's call the meeting to order then. Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Okay. And you all have the minutes from our last meeting of November 2nd, which feels like a century ago. I think I incorporated whichever comments came to me, but you might want to take a look. This was the joint meeting with the Board of Directors for the auxiliary. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? You still working on it?
The motion first, I second. You can, and she can't, you're absent, we're here.
I'll second it.
Next time,
I know.
Keep us straight.
next time. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
By the way, Kate could not be with us tonight. She's got another meeting in her school district. Okay, where is my agenda? Okay, Rhonda can help me with this. The auxiliary met on December 20th. And so the things that I want to bring, I'm the conduit back and forth because I serve both on this committee and on the board. We have submitted the 501c3 to the IRS. We have not heard back from the IRS yet, but it's a wait. And we have an EIN number and we have a bank account at Camden National Bank. And we have some money in that account, which was generated by the board. So that's a good piece of information. We talked about the unfilled board of directors position, and John Spear proposed that we amend the bylaws temporarily so that we could fill that position. He's bringing some suggestions of amendments to our next meeting, which is in January 22nd. That would be the 7th member of the board. We discussed how it works to spend money from, whether the facility committee is working to raise money for the building, or if we're raising money for startup information like the data information of software, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so, because I was a little unclear how to go about doing this, the board is not a town committee, but it will follow all the open meeting laws of the town. But if the board has generated money that's in the bank account at Camden, we can ask permission, which I will be doing shortly, to spend some money from that we're going to talk about the data software. If this committee wants to spend money for the same thing, we would need to go to the select board. So we would have to approve, like, let's say we're going to spend $3,000 on data management software, then we would have to go to the select board and get that approved. As far as I understand, that is the way the facility committee needs to get approval from the select board for spending monies. Even though we're all working on the same project towards the same goal, the nature of the two different groups. Yes,
I just want to clarify. So the committee, I'll call it, needs to have permission by the select,
yeah, because
but
we're,
the board does not.
no,
They have discretionary rights.
right.
Okay.
Right,
And I guess our, just to take that further, the approval is really our approval to spend money, right?
yeah,
We don't need to ask permission to get the money from the board, since they're
no,
not,
they've already approved some money.
but
for
how we
us.
will spend it.
How
The
we-
select board needs to
Yeah,
understand.
so I'm sure this is going to go through a couple of iterations before we get it exactly right, but that's how it works. At that time, the board moved to allot $4,000 for architectural drawings, which I'll talk about in a minute. So we're going to bring that for your approval here. We talked a little bit about our joint meeting. I think everybody felt it was a good meeting to get to know one another. And as a result of that meeting, we talked, and it's on the agenda here, talk about committees that are, because we have to follow the open meeting laws. We can't have 3 of us going off and doing something. So one of us could work with a member of the board and maybe another resident, on data management, which is the first thing that's going to be coming up here, or such, grant research. Candace and I have been doing some grant research, but we could use somebody from the board to do some grant research or look at, make some phone calls. So there's a way of combining the two groups to form committees. So that seemed to be a good idea. And then just the next thing is, we talked about fundraising strategies, but that was just a discussion. There's nothing to report on that. The next meeting of the board of directors will be January 22nd at 4 p.m. here at town offices. Any thoughts, questions? comments? Okay,
Thing.
yes.
I have a question. When I read the agenda, it had, Sherry Dasco resigning. Was it from just being secretary?
Yeah, she's having a hard time keeping up.
So did,
I'm the new
okay,
secretary.
so it's a change in office.
Yes, I'm the secretary of the board, which actually I said makes sense because I have to come back and report here. And similarly, the other direction, I'll use your minutes to report to the board, so it just made sense that I do it.
Okay. That was what I needed to find out.
Yeah. Okay, over these, I'm on now old business status of drawings from Alexander Shaw. Over the last couple months, Jan and I and Moira met with Xander Shaw about preparing some three-dimensional drawings of a potential building, not the building, but something that would position it on the property and give us some elevations. He came back with a pretty hefty plan, but he was talking from the point of an architect, and from the point of an architect, he sees this as he has a sort of a project that goes from pre-design and programming, which we have done, which we did that with Gabe. So that was done. He was very happy to see that information. A schematic design, which is what we were asking him to do. Design, development, construction, then it goes on. And I won't say that he is or isn't interested in the whole project, but we were after just schematic design, and he went further. So I mulled it over for a while. I didn't know what to do first, but then I called him, emailed him, and then called him to talk about breaking up what he had presented to us, which was about $10,000, into phase 1 and phase 2. And the phase 1 simply being, I said, we needed these drawings sooner rather than later, because we're going to residents and having people in our homes, we need to have drawings to present. He got it. He understood that that was a different kind of scenario. And because in the original plan, he had several meetings and public meetings. And, I said, we've done some public meetings. We really need these drawings to go into ambassador group meetings. And so he got that, and he came back with another proposal that broke his original proposal into two. And so schematic design, deliverables, and estimate. I have a couple copies. I do without have everything all organized here. Oh, I don't want to leave these with you because we haven't approved this yet, but I do. You could share them.
Yeah, I have a copy. We can share it.
Just and look at it
Is
and
this
look.
the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah, these are all the same. Just share them. And we're looking at phase 1, which is to develop a 3D site model.
Page 2. Okay.
Yeah, it's on page 2. Incorporate a 3D massing of the new building based on the single-story programmatic plan study that Gabe had done. And showing potential roof configuration. So he would come to our next facility meeting if we chose to invite him to come. And then do a presentation of the 3D model for review and comment. Now, I don't know if that's at the same time. I'm telling him we'd like to be on these ambassador groups by March. We need to get this done. And so he's understanding of that. And then prepare 2 to 3 images from the site model for use in public outreach. So that's 44 to 50 hours. He's giving us a discounted rate of $85 per hour as opposed to his usual 120 or 125. 105 is his usual. And that's, that's all we would be contracting him for, and not to go on with plans and elevations and then unless, I'm sure he'd love the project if that, but I said, that's not what we're doing. We're doing this first. So the board of directors has allotted $4,000 for this to us. And I have a contract with him, which is unsigned, and he needs a deposit. So would like to have some discussion about it and see what you all think.
I think that it's nice to have this in place, because if we're going to do the ambassadors pieces, and we've been saying that we really need something more concrete and tangible to be talking with these people and imagining that they can visualize much more by utilizing this. I think this is exactly what we've needed, whether or not, you know, and then I'd like to get your gut feeling about, do you think that he was pretty reasonable in trying to portray what we feel is important? And if so, I would go with your gut feeling and I would say, yay to this.
Do you want to answer that? What was your?
Yeah, I was actually favorably impressed with him. We walked the ground over there. He listened a lot to what we talked about, what our desires were. I think he had a good understanding. He was willing to go back and try and get some data from Ash Point School.
He worked on Ash
that he
Point.
worked on, and some of the features that they had in that school, and was there any complementary work that had been done that we could take advantage of? So I was impressed with him. I think, and he was willing. He really didn't hesitate to go back and put this into phases for us. He understood that, you know, money is going to be incremental, and wanted to work with us. So I came away from the meeting quite positive.
What would so the first proposal was just leave phase one, what we're interested in for now, and so did you mention just, I mean, like the massing, is it one option, two options?
Well, he said 2 to 3 images for the
Okay.
site model. Yeah.
And the images, so will you offer any printout, or do we have to print all these things on top of it?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
Yes,
But
so what are the deliverables exactly, you know, it's like,
I would think anything beyond the 3 we would have to print.
yeah. So he's
and
going
he
to
would like
provide
to
like a-
come, I mean, he really would like to come and talk with
Yeah,
us.
those are good questions for next
Yeah.
meeting if we decide to bring.
Because, you know, we're going to have to talk about how many ambassador groups are going to be operating, and so how many sets do we need? So all these are costs to consider, and obviously you run them on solid board so that they're not gonna be destroyed. And
Right.
so, you know, I'm totally confident that he can produce something quite good.
I would envision, Catherine, that they would be reusable and we would move them
Yes.
around to the different ambassador.
They don't all have to be on a solid board, when you with your sheet, you have your different, you know, sections, and then they can be put on easels. Because a solid board and laminating adds quite a bit of cost. And when you get the actual sheets, they're pretty big.
Yeah, well, I can ask him what what that
What
means.
size?
What size are we
Yeah, it's
talking
like
about?
how, you know, how are you gonna put them, you're gonna make a picture of an easel?
In fact, I think we should probably know what the
Yeah.
presentation is
Material
exactly
looks
in
like,
terms
but
of
Yeah,
deliverables. Okay, any other questions you have for him? Yes, Marcia.
Well, my question is, are these amenable? I mean, like, okay, if he gives us a schematic plan, and then we have an ambassador meeting and Joe Blow says, oh no, I would like to see. You know, this or that, whatever. Can we mark these up? Is he open to, I guess, is he flexible to meeting what other people in town might say about the plans?
I didn't hear your last sentence, so if you could say that one a little bit louder.
Amenable to what other people in town
Sure.
might say about the plans.
well, I think at this point, if I may answer, he's going to go with the program that we have defined, and then, you know, when people make comment, we are going to take the notes of the comments.
Right,
But at this point, what he's going to present will be consistent with what we defined as the program.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that, but I think we
Right.
need to.
so we
they
would
need to
be,
open to.
of course, yeah,
but
he's,
you know, there is nothing that says he will be the final architect working on it.
No, no,
because we
I know
will-
that.
Yeah, so,
and the idea is to get as much information from as many
Yeah.
people as we
Yeah,
can
that's
in
what
these
that's-
ambassador meetings.
Yeah.
Which he understands.
yeah,
just a comment, not a question. I'm imagining, and I don't know if I'm dovetailing into your question or not, I'm hoping to. Is there a way I know this sounds crazy, like a clear thermal envelope that we could slide his printout of, so that when people say, well, why do we have to have say the big room is over here, why do we have to have the big room here, why can't we have it on the other side?
Yeah.
And, you know, again, if it could be done in Post-its, it would be great.
I know
you
you
what
keep
I'm
saying
to do things,
I
But-
think he would want to gather that information and,
yeah.
you know, but basically the
Magic
point
marker
is
on a clear
to put-
sheet over it or something.
position the building of the programmatic things that we have all agreed on or voted on into some kind of a site plan, so you could understand direction, you know, what elevations. He's not gonna go into details of lots
No,
of windows or anything
But
like
I mean,
that.
the juxtaposition of rooms, do you know? and
I don't think we'll see that either. So you'll just see a map and, you know, an outside envelope. You won't see anything inside. You won't even, I don't think we'll know how. I mean, maybe it will be obvious depending on the size of the various blocks, if it's so, you know, not a rectangle.
Yeah.
You know, where, you know, a community room would be, because essentially that's gonna be the biggest room.
Okay.
But besides that, the detail of where the bathrooms are, the stacks and so forth, that won't be.
No,
Yeah,
the different
yeah.
configuration of walls. And,
Yeah.
okay, got that.
Just outside.
Yeah,
And,
that makes sense.
I'm
Yeah.
just concerned about room use.
I think that we're gonna see more than that. I would hope we do, because he's gonna look at it from a structural standpoint. So where stairways are, where a plumbing corridor would be, you know, there'll be more than just a box,
Okay.
an outline. I think there has to be. Although I still think we're a long way from final design.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, so your answer, I think, much as there's flexibility and if we want to change something, but
Right.
there will be some things you can't change or will be very expensive to change. And those are the things that I think I want to see from him. You know, if we want solar roof, the roof has to be this way, that kind of thing. If we want, you know, a patio in the back, then this should be here. That's where we really need his brain and his experience. So I'm hoping that there's a little bit more than just a
Yeah.
building
I
outside.
agree.
So we can take notes of people's
Mhm.
comments, and then, you know, when I worked with architects before, you know, if they do.
Yeah.
Schemas, or, you know, and they want comments and people feel more comfortable marking a thing, they use like see-through, you know, what do you call it, see-through paper, you know, and
Tracing
you
paper,
can
yeah.
mark that up, you
Yeah.
know, on over essentially, so.
I think that's why he wants to come, you know, and talk with us, which I think is a great idea personally. Yeah,
But
more,
it goes on to what you already said, Catherine, was that on Gabe's preliminary, there is information there already. And I assume that he's taking that.
Yeah.
But the important part is, and it comes to what you've talked about a lot, is that how the building will be and the elevation and going facing south to maximize if there's panels on the roof.
Mm.
And how that building is in the entrance and egress and the patio. And that's what we're getting from him, plus what's in the design that all of us agreed on. Those will be there, that, and what can work and what can't work structurally. Is my understanding, just reading this whole thing.
right.
That's what it should be, and that's what we need, and then people can then have a 3D visualization and say, oh, I didn't understand it that way, that makes great sense, or that doesn't make great sense. What about this? Because you need brainstorm, and that's what I see it being. And it
Right.
starts first with the committee, because we've been working on it for a long time. And yes, it would be beneficial for him to come to the committee. And one thing would be, everybody already seems a preliminary, just like you did with the case study. And come prepared with some questions, so we're not wasting his time, because
Okay,
that's something I'm.
all right. So I'm making notes of what I'm going to write to him tomorrow morning.
But that's how I see it be very constructive for us.
Okay. Okay, so he's saving that date, which is February 1st, I think. Okay. if you think of anything else, let me know, because I will be corresponding with him tomorrow. So I guess the question is, do you approve of this? You know, we need to have a vote, I think, on whether you're ready to approve this phase one.
I'll make the motion that we approve the estimate of preliminary estimate from Z Shaw Architecture for $4,250 for the phase one plan.
Okay, any other discussion about it?
Does this have to go to the select board before you execute the contract?
Well, that is something I gotta ask Jeff tomorrow.
I'm fairly sure you do.
Well, I'm not sure because the money is coming from,
No, but because you are a town committee, you need
Yes.
to.
right,
Yeah.
that's, and I wanna double check that, yeah,
Select board approval to spend the money, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yes.
yeah, I think that,
What I understood.
is that, yeah,
Before.
I think that, you know, that, I don't have the answer to that, but was my next call, is to call Jeff. Yeah. They meet next week, I think, is that right?
Yeah, what we're gonna vote on right now is the committee's recommendation to the select board
Yes.
to do this. And that's how I see the motion.
I want to make sure that what he delivers is not just the model of the building, but it's, location on the plot.
Yes.
You know, it's the whole
Yes,
thing.
He knows that.
And I'm more concerned about rooms and use of than how he's dividing them.
okay, all in favor? All right. Very good, thank you.
I think you may have all noticed that there's a $500 deposit is the first.
Yeah.
Required in the contract on page 4.
And they don't have all the,
Well, I don't, you're not at
Here.
page 4.
I have it right there, we can see that.
It's very short. It's just a sentence. Just let me know if you have any questions, which is we do. You know, if you find the design services proposal acceptable, please provide a $500 deposit. Check to Z Shaw Architecture to initiate the work. And then provide us the signature below. Obviously, we would not do that until the select board.
Select board, yeah, that's
approves
what
it.
made me realize that we needed to do that. Okay. Good, great.
Yes, please.
Yeah. it goes back. Okay. So so committee work is next, and we've started to divide up into committees, I think. The ambassador groups will probably, as I said, not start scheduling until March, until we get this information from, and this meeting with Xander. And have the new drawings. So we'll just go on from there.
Sandy,
Yes,
how are you gonna do ambassador groups starting March when we're meeting with the architect February 1st?
yeah,
And we're going over things. We're not gonna, unless we have another meeting, which I don't wanna, you need to plan once you had the first meeting. Are you gonna have the materials?
well, that's what we have, yeah.
So
I'm just saying we can't do it before March, I know
Yeah.
that, so.
I'm just asking
yeah.
the question.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Probably a better
I
way to
keep
say it.
thinking it's gonna happen, but it doesn't happen.
Everything
So-
takes longer than you think it would.
Everything takes longer. So that gets us to number 2 under committee work, Little Green Light. And I asked Catherine to tell us what we need to know about
Alright,
Little
so I
Green.
sent you to a memo and it's very brief and it's
Oh, I
usually-
think I got that.
I recommend that we use Little Green Light as a partner management software. It's the most widely used for small nonprofit, which we are. And it's also the cheapest, and it includes, more importantly, all the features that we may want to use, which is obviously having a database of all the partners. And when I say partners, it's not just donors, but it's foundations, grantors of various kind, volunteers,
Businesses,
businesses,
yeah,
yeah, open
yeah.
donors and so forth. So I had a discussion with Liz Jenkins. She's not easy to get in touch with, and I mean, good for her, but for us, she's going to be away for the next 2 weeks or so. But I'm planning to have lunch with her, after she returns. She has been obviously very helpful in talking about this software to me because she had ample experience, and I know she's not the only one. But she, I was asking about email software, which we will need to communicate, among the various stakeholders and so forth. And she says the one from Little Green Light is perfectly fine. And she had developed some Word templates that can be used, to format nicely. So that would save us the cost of another email management software like MailChimp or Constant Contact. As far as the accounting aspect of it, which obviously needs to be, taken very seriously and, precisely, they use, I keep forgetting the name. I'm not doing accounting. QuickBooks. But because they have an ongoing, operation, they didn't integrate it with Little Green Light. They just reconciled the report from Little Green Light with what they had on their own books. But I know it's feasible to integrate them completely. And for us, I think it might make sense because that's all we do, fundraising. It's not like we have other operations on the side that have a separate accounting,
Right.
and so forth. But it's not something urgent to consider, but, the second thing will be probably to consider purchasing
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks.
Mhm.
And especially, if things are gonna be audited at some point, I mean, it's professional, yeah.
How much is Little Green Light? The software?
I have, it's actually very cheap. Like if you buy monthly at our level, the lowest level is 2,500 partners. And, that's plenty for us at this point.
And that's
And,
$45 a
And
month.
if you buy
46
on a
a year.
yearly basis, you get a discount and it comes to $486 a month, which is obviously
Year.
quite
A year.
a year, yeah, thank you. And, and since we're in this for a minimum of 3 years, buying yearly is my recommendation, a year at a time. And, so, in terms of integrity, of the database and also confidentiality, you need a database administrator, somebody who's going to eventually design it and take care of it and enter the sensitive information. So here, given that we are volunteers, she considers, I would recommend, we talked about it, she said the fewer cooks, the better, which makes sense. So I would recommend 2 admins so that, if one person has to travel or be away for one reason or another, there is someone else there so that nothing is put on hold. But after that, given the way the system is structured, the admin has access to everything and setups the structure and so forth, but then can set permission for other people to use the database and restrict what they have access to. So if we have us being points of contact with certain donors or potential donors and so forth, we could eventually access it and enter, the comments of the meetings, the amount people pledged, all this information can be entered by the people who have their little, group of responsible contacts, essentially. So it's very flexible this way, and
So I'm thinking one person from here, you, and one person from the board, Rhonda, and maybe a couple of other people who can enter, those that were not admins. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, the admin can have access, to the most confidential information, obviously, but after that, the people who do the meeting, ambassador meeting and so forth, you are going, let's assume I have an ambassador meeting and I'm not an admin, I need to relay what I learned from that ambassador meeting. So instead of me writing it, emailing it, I can have permission to enter that information directly, clicking on the name of the person I met with. And I will have access only to the fields which allow entry of that relevant
Okay.
information. But I will not see their birthday, but all this other stuff, which is
Yeah,
really confidential. So, you know, I think it has all the flexibility, all the safety features that we need, and so that is my recommendation. Anything else gonna cost much more money and it's gonna be a Ferrari when we just need.
oh, I know the Music Academy is very happy with Little
Yes,
Greenway.
yeah,
and-
I think
and-
most nonprofits.
Yeah, AIO is,
Yeah.
we're sort of following AIO here with Xander and Little Greenway. Xander was the architect for AIO as well. All right, so you are proposing that we should spend $486, which I do know that the Board of Directors, that the 501c3 account has in it.
Yes.
So I would
And-
take that to the board at the next meeting.
Before, so that I would propose that we accept and agree to use that software. That would be the first step. Then I would propose to wait until after I have met with Liz. I mean, Rhonda, do you have experience with that software?
I do.
Extensive, yeah.
Well, not as an administrator.
Okay. Because Liz told me she had access, I guess she is a consultant or something like that, so she proposed to set me up so that I could find my legs around it. And she
You guys
also
could go to-
offered to give us some templates for setups and things like that, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, we may brainstorm to think of all kinds of fields we need, but having done that.
Liz is the one, and, I'd like to be involved with that.
Yeah,
Meeting
I
with
think
her.
you two should both
Yeah,
meet with Liz.
If she has offered to do this before you will be in charge,
yes.
because I thought she stopped doing that, so.
Well, I kind of hinted, you know, and she herself, I said, I can forward some templates to you, and so it was. So, you know, if she wanted a fee, she should have asked for that, but no, my understanding
Okay,
is
good.
she's doing that out of the goodness of her heart. So, and that's what I was saying, so, you
So
know,
after you meet with Liz, then,
then. If we have the agreement that we should go for it, before we spend any money, they offer a 1 month trial period. So let's get that 1 free month. And at the end of that 1 free month, then sign up and pay.
I should let you know that I'm away for the month of February. I can do things remotely, but I'm not going to be here.
But at the end of February, we can meet with her
So in March.
before you leave.
Okay. That way-
She will be back the 17th of January. Okay, so.
okay, great. So,
I was just gonna say, so what you need tonight really is our recommendation to use this software.
Yes, we use this software, agree to eventually spend the 486, yeah. But, you know, my sequence is like, let's use the 3 months first.
That the committee agrees to accept Catherine Lermer's recommendation to use Little Green Light and agree to pay for 1 year after she has her 1 month trial period. And that's the committee's recommendation.
all those in favor, or any discussion, any further discussion? I think we've had it, right, pretty much. Sounds good to me. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you very much. Okay. I will take it to the board. Okay, case statement. So that sort of goes hand in glove in, oh no, grant research. Yeah. Candace and I have done various things over the last several weeks. And maybe you could give a little report, Candace.
Sure. What I did, is I just made a quick report and gave a couple of examples of the types of grants that we're looking for. Anyway, so we are fortunate to have small groups seeking monies for a community project. And they've been working on various aspects of gaining revenue, preferably substantial. Another grant entity is smaller grant amounts, which means many submission applications, no matter, because every penny counts. The group's research taught us that we need to gain funds from smaller entities first to show our serious intent.
Oh,
It's a positive message to the larger charitable grant organizations. We indeed have a serious intent, our community project. There are several types of grant forms, and we're, after all, if the guidelines fit our needs. There are initial grants, which are easy gifts from people such as our committee, anyone close to the library. The contributor chooses the amount. There are primary gifts. Those are the top donations to any campaign. Primary gifts make up the largest amount contributed to a campaign, about 60%. Special gifts are the middle gifts to a campaign. Special gifts and primary gifts make up a total of 90% of the donated funds. And then we have community gifts. Broad-based smaller gifts to a campaign. Amounts range from pennies to much larger gifts. So to date, researchers have collected a good number of grant sources, and we continue to do so. At this point in time, we're sort of keeping a record this way here. As to what type of grant is possible for us, a possible fund amount, contact people, and submission dates. So we have that piece in place for the moment. However, we do note that some of the dates we've seen it pass. Well, guess what? It's 2024 now, so that's pretty obvious. Although there is one that the application date is 1/18. But I do believe I just received an email for that one. Let me just check because I'm talking about it at the moment. To say, yeah, that unfortunately, the advertisement for the gift, if you will, I don't know if it's an advertisement, but it says here, it's grants to New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, and Quebec, and nonprofits, municipalities, and schools to benefit local communities. Well, I reached out to the person who is the Senior Community Grants Associate. Go back just before I left, that's where I was hurrying up and reprinting. And she said, we're not in their geographical location. It's like, shoot.
yeah, I know, it's hard.
That one I have to cross off, so I'm sorry to tell you that. But at any rate, we're always on the lookout for new grant options. Anybody that has any suggestions, give it away, but we keep looking and prodding along because they're there. You just have to roll over the rocks a bit. And those that offer nonprofits to apply for, some we can apply for yearly, and those would be the small ones. They call them special gifts. You know, they're like maybe 5,000,
Yeah,
2,000.
Or Maine,
whatever.
like Maine Community Foundation. you know,
Yes.
It's usually a $5,000.
That's where this woman
Oh.
suggested that we look to.
Mhm.
So definitely, I will put that on my agenda for tomorrow anyway. I try to do it at least 2 and then see if I can add to the
Mhm.
list 2 and whatnot. But we will just keep on going and see what we get.
And on my part, I'm aware of some family foundations in Maine. There's a couple of different foundations that have funded various kinds of projects. Some of them are not applicable to ours, but there's a few. And I think the best way of approaching them is calling, making a personal connection and finding out if there's anything that fits, for our purposes. But I do think we have to raise some money from first before we can, but it would be, and we're going to talk about feasibility in a minute, but to think about a schedule over the next 18 months of when grants are due and whether, we can generate enough money by the fall to start writing grants.
Right. Is when you're talking about the family grants, is that your sheet that said Liberty Family Foundation? Is that totally different?
Libra Foundation.
Oh, I saw Libra, yeah,
Libra.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, good.
there's a bunch that give to the arts, so that's what I had, because I'm on another board. So they go to, different.
Yeah, at this point, I think, the grant is just got the research, identifying which foundation and.
Right, and know when to apply,
Yes, and so forth, but
So-
it's way too early.
So that's the grant research right now, just amassing as many different sources and the dates. And if we can apply yearly, or if you have to apply every 3rd year, it used to be grants, you could get like a multi-year grant. And those aren't so available anymore. They fund you for 3 years, which
Yeah.
was great because it gave you some time,
Mhm.
you know, but not so much anymore.
It's another grant out there that you can apply for, 4 different times, it's quarterly, 4 different times within the course of the year, and you can keep reapplying year to year as well, too, so
Yeah,
that's nice to know.
that's good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Keeps us busy.
So that leads us to the case statement, which is going to be.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
I'll
sorry.
speak to that. It brings to mind when the Futures Committee was meeting a couple, 3 years ago now. They went around and visited other libraries, and I remember part of that discussion.
Yeah.
You know, I guess what I'm trying to get to, is there any opportunity to talk to those organizations and see what grants they were able to get for their libraries? Because many of those.
I have a lot of that information.
Do you have a lot
Yeah,
of that? Okay, good.
because I did the research.
Okay, because
So I have the notes.
you were
from-
part of the briefers. I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah,
Sandy Retzloff being one of the people
Yeah.
that talked about it too, and
yeah. I'll get that information for us.
This is kind of a sidestep, but it's also in the area of money. When we had the joint meeting back in November, there was supposed to be a follow-up of asking the committee to donate, because for all of this, we need 100%. Regardless of the amount, but 100%
Yeah.
commitment, and we were supposed to hear something at the end of the year.
Yeah,
So I'm asking the question, what's happened?
yeah. Well,
And
it's not that I dropped the ball, but I wasn't sure we were definitely a 501c3.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they're waiting.
I think that's.
And I thought, I don't want to actually ask you all to give money until it's really clear. I mean, I think the word I get is that once the submission was in, which didn't happen until the beginning of December, even though we don't have IRS approval, we can still claim 501c3, you know, tax exempt status. That's the attorney on the board said that. So I think that's the case, but I just wasn't clear enough to send out a letter to all of you, but
So this is 100% sure that. we
I'm
can-
pretty sure, but I want to hear definitely till I ask everybody to give money.
okay, I just want to know the status.
Yeah, that's
Because it's important that there's 100% from
Yeah,
us
and-
before
right.
things go out.
And the way we did it is, again, anybody, you could give whatever you wanted. If you have $5, great. If you have $100, even better.
So.
If you have
it should-
$50,000, well, right.
That's okay too.
And the donation is to the South Thomaston Library and Community Center Auxiliary.
Say it again.
What's the title?
Yeah, we don't know the answer to that question, I don't think.
So we,
Yeah.
okay,
The
so
South
we have,
Thomaston Library and Community.
It's the
Center
South Thomaston Library Community Center Auxiliary.
those-
And you would, if you were, that would be the 501c3 contribution. And that money is controlled by the board. So that check would go to Barbara Wrights, who's depositing checks. If you want to give, if you don't want to give to a 501c3, you want to give to a town, we have an account here in the town, the Library and Community Center, the new Library Community Center. And Terry knows about that.
are there donor cards?
There are donor cards from here, yes, from the town.
Can you say that again? South Thomas, the
South
name of the
Thomas.
501c3?
South Thomaston Library / Community Center Auxiliary.
Hey,
When
they
it-
made that long enough.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, okay.
case
Case-
statements. First, thank you for the inputs I got on the case statements. Catherine, I just got yours tonight before I came over. I think we're close. I mean, I really think we've refined this.
With Kate that helped me look at these. Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, Catherine sent me an
Oh, okay.
input.
Oh,
You didn't
okay.
see it because it was part of this.
Oh, I see.
Just this afternoon, I think.
I don't mean to be picky, but you know, when I learned English, it was a historical, not an historical.
Yeah, okay, okay. Both are actually correct.
And they are correct, and is correct in the informal language.
Yeah.
Formal writing.
So I guess where we are in my mind is it's one more time, I should gather these and put it in. One of the things I realized is I need to either date them or put versions on them because now we're gonna get confused because we have,
Let's play a sent you a separate file. Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'll do that. I'll go back and put the date on the one that I originally given you. And then this updated one will do the same thing for the date or a version on it, and so we can
Okay.
start tracking them. There's still a couple of holes I know on them.
Yeah, there's a
Let me look at mine, because I marked it up. Where we had, I know we referred to Gabe in here about some inputs from him.
Yeah.
We
Um,
have hard copies here.
So
hard
this,
copies of,
yeah, I'm gonna give you mine. This
The
is,
percent from.
yeah, I sent these, but everybody got them in the mail. But, so the first paragraph of these two are different. Did you?
I guess, yep. I actually like the one where you started out with the town of South Thomaston version,
Oh, you do?
as opposed to the one where you talked about
Oh,
the community.
located, yeah, the one about the need.
Yeah.
And that was Kate's response, that the need wasn't clearly stated. So I started,
Yeah, and I think you kind of want that right up front,
yeah,
I felt. And I hate to take the time to go through this kind of
well,
line by line, but we're,
I just am curious about people's reactions, where they feel there's not enough information, where there's redundancies, anything that you feel, because it's definitely got to go through another wordsmithing.
yeah,
I formatted what I sent each of you with a couple of statements at the beginning, which are things that are coming from you when you write to me, you know, why we need this, and we're going to talk about statements from the committee member in just a few minutes, right, Laura? Okay.
yeah, my general comments, again, looking at the two versions that you. Do other people have it?
Yeah. Is this the case for support? Is that what you're looking at right now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Case for
case for
support.
support. And one of them, the opening narrative, the first sentence says the town of South Thomaston. The other one says
Located.
located in the beautiful. I preferred the one that starts with the town of South Thomaston, that sentence for that paragraph.
Yeah.
And I also think that, and this is my personal opinions that I'm giving you. I think we're still talking too much about Guilford Butler School and the history. Of the school. There's several places in here where we talk about the fact that the committee reviewed it and so on.
You think we
And
should take that out?
Well, I think it's time. I know that's not a consensus of everyone in the room, but I think it's time we kind of move beyond that. And I think in the history, we talked a lot about it. I'm not really sure what Guilford Butler and his sister Lula Butler has to do with going after funding for
Yep,
the new center, that kind of thing.
okay,
I do think you need the third paragraph though on the first page in 2022.
Yes,
That part.
but under the history, that
Yeah.
could be,
There, yeah.
okay,
third paragraph on the first page
Yes,
starts with located in the beautiful.
correct. So the third, in 2022, the library was able.
that's,
And you
I think
used 1600, the census in
Yeah.
2020 was 1511.
wait a minute, say it again, what?
You used 1600 residents
Generous.
and the census for 2020 was 1511.
1511,
I don't, but it does change and
I
they have
know,
an
I know.
estimate. But I just want, because we used to be.
I agree with your comments on the third paragraph, but that's what you're.
Okay. Yeah, where's that paragraph that you're mentioning?
The same one that you, the third paragraph, located in the beautiful coastal region. It's the second line down.
Don't do things.
1511, okay. Are there any glaring omissions? I know we need still to, you know, list all the board members. There's all kinds of data that still has to be attached to this for grant writing purposes, but as far as a case statement, this is
but I agree, I
Right.
don't think we need all the superfluous information that, about the butlers, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I think shorter is better,
Yeah,
you know,
I do too.
anyone who's looking at grants and reviewing, it's sort of like scholarship applications. Have
Yeah.
done some of that. Boy, you know, about the fourth or fifth one you read, that your eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
You really gotta hit them with, I think,
You
Well,
know,
you need to
the
hit them
important
with,
stuff.
you need to hit them with the need.
The
What is
need,
Yeah.
need? And what, and it doesn't come across, it's all good information, but, I didn't get the need, and so if I'm a person gonna dish money out, what do you need it for?
yeah.
You're not telling me that.
all right,
That's why I kind of like that other opening sentence there. Because I thought that said more of that. More
But I think
about the need.
yeah, the first sentence is there.
Yeah.
By there, you stated.
But it's not
Compelling.
concise, it's giving us there, you need a more concise need.
Yep.
Should that be better in, put into the vision statement being the leading sentence in here, or do you it would be better right on the first page?
I think it would be better on the first page and clean up the second paragraph. And make it in the second paragraph, standing what the need is. Because you have some of it, but you've made it flat, I'm gonna use the word flowery. And
okay, so the first paragraph, come out strong, is what you're
well,
saying.
the first paragraph, if you're giving what South Thomaston is, what, and it's good, I don't.
Well,
and
which version are you looking?
I'm looking on the one, the town of South Thomaston in need of a modern community.
Version 2.
I should have version 2, but.
Yeah,
it
version
doesn't.
2, okay,
But I think the second paragraph needs to say the need. And because this one, you know, doesn't say the need as strongly as one needs it to
Okay.
be. Because they get lots of grants, they get lots of paperwork. It needs to be front and center too.
I think that's right, yeah, and that's exactly what Kate said when I
It's
thought.
much more concise,
Pardon me,
much more concise.
Yeah.
It's too long.
I tend to be wordy, Marcia.
It kind of goes with the case statement. I call it, you know, you have a short sentence in marketing committees and business, you know, you have something that
That was
quick
your speech.
and grabs their attention,
Okay,
and that's, we haven't, and we need that.
both work on this?
Yeah.
How do you want to do?
We can, Sandy.
Yeah.
I think I'm willing to take another stab at it,
Yeah.
just pull in what I've received and what you've done.
Yeah. Okay,
And that might be the working document that we can throw out again,
all
And
right,
I would maybe suggest
all of us,
like a workshop.
a workshop meeting
just on this.
on this, and people, you know, do, and it works that way,
Mhm.
because
Okay,
if you're gonna, it'll take forever if someone sends an email and then someone does this,
Yeah, yeah.
something. Have a finite time that works.
I think that's a good idea. It's gonna be painful because if we do that, we should grind through line by line,
Yes,
delete, change, do that
right,
kind of online editing if we can.
yeah,
That's why you need to those version, because like, I don't remember the version I worked from, like, there was not a mention of Lula. Butler, so one side I think is stored and then the other.
no, they're both in there.
Okay, so.
They're in the history.
yeah, I, I
What
felt
you work from.
the history was
I
redundant.
think
I thought.
I had deleted 3 instead of 2.
Oh.
There was something.
Yeah, the one that starts with the narrative about being located in the coastal town, that's the one that you
Yeah,
edited. But you also, if I'm,
yeah,
the lines you put through the yellow, we're on the same page as far as deleting.
yeah, deleting, you know.
I'll let you start the next
Yeah,
version. And
I've got it in my computer already.
Maybe, and-
I-
if we do, if we have Xander come in February, maybe we do this in March or April. We're not going to be writing grants for a while, but we need to have the case statement so that we can start to do some other publicity work, so.
I do have 2 comments though, on the second page. It sounds like architectural vocabulary. So my first question is this going to be for the townspeople or for?
Okay, so a case statement is used internally and externally. So you use it externally. It's your boilerplate for doing grants, you know, so you might not use the whole thing, you know, you might, depending on the application, you're gonna pull things out. But we're all working from the same.
Let me be sure I'm on the paragraph you are though, on the right version, so give me a beginning sentence for the paragraph.
Well, I am on the version 3, that's what I printed out. And it would be on the second page, third paragraph from the bottom.
From the bottom, starts our history.
Now another social node.
Oh, that's the second.
It's under the history.
No, so mine is the third.
It's,
Um,
yeah, depending on how it's up.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
History.
So anywho,
Okay, I'm with you.
yeah, my concern was, would that cause confusion for the reader? And also there were, 2 sections where I thought one was redundant and you could do it without it, but I did some editing and I'll just put it in my sheet.
Oh, great.
That's great.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah, that's another area where I would shorten that sentence, that paragraph,
Okay,
where we kind of, again, if I'm giving you money, it's the history of, well, gee, we used to have a Grange Hall, we used to have this. I'm not really sure that that's, I mean, you might say it in a sentence or two, but I don't know that you need to give them a lot of dates and times.
right. And this is not an unpleasant criticism, believe me, I know this stuff is very hard to put together and it's.
No, that's all right.
I think we should have a fully expanded version and her abbreviated one. The abbreviated one will be the input for the grant writing.
Yeah,
But the complete one is actually good for us when we have to talk and
well, that's the other use when we go out talking, you know, that you have
Kind of a
some
script.
history, some information. Like I
Bullet
can't,
point.
yeah.
does anybody know when this building was built? I know there was a renovation in 2015, but
1975.
1975?
Wow.
Thank you. I called out. I looked up the comprehensive plan. I looked up everywhere. 1975, and then
And the burning of the Grange kind of was
Nineteen seventy-six.
76, so it happened after, okay.
And before this building was built, town office, the fire department was all at Guilford Butler.
yeah, yeah.
And town meeting, it was not at the Grange.
Was town meeting at Guilford Butler? Yep.
Yes,
Before Guilford Butler, I guess that was earlier, 55 or so,
since 55.
55.
Oh, just in the early 2000s.
Yeah, we had a town meeting in Guilford Butler until.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I arrived, I was still.
Me too.
Till what, like, the years go by so fast. I know it was, when Nash Point School was built.
Yeah.
That's when we
And they closed.
And they closed.
closed Guilford Butler.
Yeah, that's when we moved it. So, and so to Candace, to answer your question more fully, then, you know, we use it internally for our own, so that we're all on the same page. And then also if you're writing a letter, for instance, to somebody, you can pull out a paragraph and say, blah, 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 you know, there's ways of using the information that we all have. And that's what it's for. And, you know,
Conversation.
yeah,
Depending on
right.
where you're trying to
donor,
twist it.
donor,
Yeah.
you know, donors and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very good if it's very concise and it's, you know, but I think factual, I think it needs to be pretty factual. Okay. So one thing I did do, moving on to feasibility stuff, what I heard last in December, November at our joint meeting was the need, yeah.
I thought you were gonna talk about the statement. The.
Oh, statements, let's do that first. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I have gotten like 4 statements from the committee. Which I had asked people for, so that we could use them as we're using them here at the top of the case statement, or at the top of the letter, or at the piece of publicity, that there is a comment from somebody who believes strongly in the building. And I know we did project thesis statements for Gabe's work, but that's different from saying why you personally want a new building in town. So I took a couple and I put them up here at the top of our case statement. And I think if you look at other case statements, you will see them kind of throughout, throughout the case statement. And it kind of punctuates whatever is being written about. So I think Moira has a few.
What
You want me to-
I did the homework and gave some things, but then after I got the email yesterday and read through everything, I felt that I've always liked the word connecting, and that's really important, but we didn't have, and these statements were very nice, but it's not talking about building, not talking about a new building, not talking about building a community. So those were things that were missing. So then I kind of looked and started writing things down, and what I suggested, Sandy, was we should write on the board what people have come up with, and I'll just throw two out that they're just what I was working on just to get things, but I wrote connecting people together, creating a stronger tomorrow has its award. Because it gets the people together, it's talking about creating something, and it's awarding. So connecting people together, creating a stronger tomorrow has its awards. Creating a stronger tomorrow.
Lots of rewards.
I said awards, it could, has its awards. And then I said, well, I'm not talking about a building, so I said, build connections, build community. Very quick, very easy, but it's standing for, we want to have connections, we want to build, we want a community. So it has all these bullet point words to
Build connections,
build community. And that's, and I'm not saying these are perfect, but I felt that we should brainstorm and the rest of us say what they thought, because I love the vision of, a valuable space in a library with a quiet table with lighting. That brings a wonderful image, but it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And so,
That was mine.
but it's a great image, but you want something that's short and to the point.
Yeah, and also about building.
And about a building. So those were, and I came up with a couple others, but I just picked the two that I thought might be okay. But I thought we'd just go around the table and have the rest of you guys say what you think or what you don't like, and because it needs to be something that's we can say without reading from it, or remember it pretty fast. Anytime you're in a marketing meeting, there was years ago when we had something in marketing, we had membership has its rewards. And probably that's why I didn't want to do rewards on this one, but it's just, things you think about and they stay with you.
Yeah. You got any other gems there?
I like the word gather, because build connection, again, in this day and age, it's like it could be internet connections or whatever. Gather, it's like physically getting together. Gather, and then the build community is definitely essential. So I don't know if you want like a jingle.
Well,
with-
well, I just think we all get
Yeah.
them all up because it's like connecting is very important too.
Yeah.
Yeah, warm and welcoming are two words that kind of come to mind that kind of embrace your idea of the quiet place.
Yeah.
Not so quiet because I want to laugh.
Safe, creative. Safe.
Safe. I'm trying to think about how to combine some of this stuff.
Okay, just throw them up there for now.
On the left, and then we can combine it
Also, yeah,
later if you
sticky
want. You know, as we
Combine.
brainstorm, just put
Yeah.
everything on the left, and then we can do some other
Yeah,
things.
so.
Creating. Creating community, creating. Maybe, yeah, I'm thinking out loud, I don't know.
That's okay. Thinking out loud is valuable.
Creating community.
I'm thinking like gathering together. Building
I like the word friends,
connections.
actually. Friends is a good word.
Yeah. But I think
Friends and
succinct
neighbors.
is important too.
So do I.
And so
It's
I'm
important
thinking
too.
succinct, being succinct, and so I'm thinking like, cause I like the build connections, build
Yeah, I like that
community
one.
thing. And I also like what, what you have said here, my dear. And I also think that gather is another good word to put in, and so gathering together, building connections, that way it's more specific to people. Gathering together, building connections.
Building community.
Building
Yeah.
community, yeah.
Yeah, building community is,
Building community.
Building, like that.
Community.
I was just trying to think if they needed any, even building communities,
Yeah.
and gathering together, building community.
See, the gathering to me means you need to have a place, a physical place, you know, essential to do that thing of building community.
Yeah, I like that. Again, succinct, I think is good. Safe is going to be implied in gathering together, I think. Anyway, that's what I say, thank you.
Inclusive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, I'm thinking the library now, we have people there from 2 years old to 97.
Mhm.
So somehow inclusive.
Inclusive.
I'm not quite sure if that's
Yeah.
the right word, but
Right.
I'm thinking out loud.
Throw it up there.
Right, yeah.
Find synonyms for it later.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Welcoming.
Inclusive,
Of all ages.
or just say inclusive, right? I mean, just because we're just throwing words out.
for all, you know.
But why be specific, just say inclusive,
Yeah.
which be.
I'll just
put it down. I have
it here.
General idea.
Right,
Yeah, maybe that's not a warm word, though.
inclusive,
It's more of a modern word.
Yeah, it's like gathering
Hey,
together,
but
so it's
people-
longer, but it's like welcoming all generations, you know, like, again,
All ages is easy.
yeah, all ages, that's all. Gathering together, welcoming all ages. Welcoming.
Gathering
all
together, building community for all.
right.
Yeah, welcoming all,
Welcoming.
because this way you, all the segmentations.
No, baby.
No discriminatory.
Welcoming all.
And building communities, yeah, I would put those three together, gathering together, welcoming all. And building community as a result.
So, goes up in here.
Those are the three thoughts.
I would further suggest that some of these words are very important for the case statement. That
To include them in the
I
case
think
statement.
that's where. the
That's a
case
good
statement
idea.
Right now is missing a little. bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess I was also trying to, mine is the one that talks about a table in the library. I love having a table in the library. I spent many hours at tables in libraries, but of a personal experience, I mean, I've gone to hear authors read from their books and poets, read from their poetry, and the sense of being in a place of books, listening to somebody read from a book that they've written is such a, there was an author that I know who was up in Thomaston, and it was just, I love that. So anything that's personal, I think could also be really welcome in here too.
And that could be another section
Yeah.
in your, in this, in the paper.
All right, I'll write these down. We like build connections, build community, right?
How about a sentence like a place for all to gather together and build community?
Mhm.
Put that in one sentence. Safe place, even if we wanted to circle that far.
Great place.
That's safe, you want fun,
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 fun place.
a fun place.
Wait, I don't know that we need safe, I'm looking at other words up there.
Fun place.
That's why welcoming seems to be inclusive of that.
Okay. But,
To gather together.
my sentence would be, yeah, a place for all to gather together and build community. Trying to make those three thoughts in a
Yeah,
sentence.
yeah.
A welcoming place.
Yeah.
Write these other words down.
They'll be in the minutes,
Huh?
they'll be in the minutes.
You got them written up? Okay, great. I don't have to write anymore. Okay. So that's
Good.
that.
Good thoughts.
Okay, so just, we're coming to an hour and a half here, so, I just, at our last meeting, we heard, I think it was from Rich Norman about a timeline, feasibility timeline, and I thought, we've been so working on trying to get ambassador groups going, and we really haven't forecasted any timeline for good reason, but I do think we should begin to think about this. And I think it's reasonable for people to ask that. So this is just, I've been thinking about this. It will change, it will move around. And it also starts to highlight the various committees that we might form. The first one being the data management committee, would be the donor research and database stuff. And as part of that will be through our ambassador groups, we're going to be getting people's names and coming up with a list. So these are just all action items as we go forward. At the top, I put feasibility study to be completed by September 2024. I really hope we could.
So we go.
Seems like we should be able to do that.
Define that for me. What is a feasibility study in your mind?
So it's kind of a study. Capital campaign people will come and do it for you, and you pay like $10,000, $12,000, something big. And they do all the donor research that, we've been starting to do and putting people's names down, but they also do a donor search where they look into any kind of like business donations, all kinds of stuff they go into. And then they kind of crunch the numbers and say, okay, you have enough possibility to raise the goal of 3.6 million, or no, forget it, So I talked to a couple people about it, and they said we can do a lot of this work ourselves. And in fact, in Tennant's Harbor, when they were first hoping to build a new library, they failed a feasibility study. So, and the person I talked to said, so we just ignored it, so I was like, well, I don't really want to spend all this money, but we should, in all, good faith, try to figure out if we have enough donors in town to get us to the place where we can go forward.
I guess I'm more in line with the Tennant's Harbor thought. Is it going to stop us no matter what it says? Does this depend on a feasibility study? Or do we turn around to the town and say, no,
It- it-
changed our mind?
I
Feasibility
think,
study says
yeah,
no.
it definitely gives you an idea of, the time frame. Like.
Yeah, take that.
If, as we go along with our ambassador meetings, I mean, we can gauge, people who are in favor and not, and also, find out, are they willing to pledge some amount or not, and by those early, informal pledges or interest, you can tell, well, how fast will it take us, how long will it take us to reach
Right.
$2 million?
Mhm.
So, that's the cap. If we can raise that from the town, and the sooner you do it, the sooner you can finish your project. But, if after we do all this, we see we only have $1 million, that's gonna be a slog, and,
And you don't want to collect money if there really doesn't seem to be the will, so we got it. And that's what these ambassador groups are not for raising money, but we really need to know where the support is in town, I think.
Mhm.
So so it's not a full out feasibility study like, you would pay money for, but it is a sense of knowing who we can depend on and,
So who will do that for us? And
well,
we're gonna try to.
Do it ourselves.
yeah, we're gonna be,
There are a couple of tools available, and that's when I was talking
Yeah.
about donor search at the, previous meetings where, it's a service that only profits have recourse to, and
and I think also, looking into business support and,
Yeah.
using all of our collective knowledge to really talk to people to find out where the money, where money is that we could really tap into. I also have a couple of leads on some larger grants, Candace and I talked about it, and but we can't go apply for those until we have.
yeah, until you have a good base of donations, to show that there is commitment.
Right.
So we don't want to go into a full-fledged capital campaign and collect money if 2 years from then we have to return it, that doesn't seem like a very good idea, but we have to try really hard to say, this is going to take us 2 years to raise this money, 3 years, 4 years, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is new to me, so I'm not
Yeah.
really, it wasn't a criticism as much as
Yeah,
educate me.
yeah, no,
No, and that's the key. I mean, the time frame. People may be very vested in the project, but they don't have the ability to disperse, $10,000 in a year. But if you say, okay, over 4 years, then it becomes $2,500 a year, and that's much more manageable. So, that's another thing that's gonna have to be presented, or, when it comes time to ask people, first we want to see, okay, who is interested and who is not. And after we build those relationships, that when you approach people and you start talking dollars, but and see,
yeah.
what's their potential, what their flexibility and so forth.
So my sense is after the ambassador groups can keep on going, but I think after we do a big push for ambassador groups in the spring and summer and fall, that we could then, have some print materials for donors, so that we're ready to do, and we have the little green light is all set up so we can accept money, and we know better from the IRS what's going on. So. And then we would have a grant list, to start being able, so if we can really push to get some information here, that would be great.
Excuse me, I have to leave, I have an appointment at 6:30.
Okay.
What I would like to say is that I wrote down the words from the board, and I'd like an opportunity to kind of think about
Yeah.
some rewording and then just send it out to you if that's
Yeah, yeah.
okay with you.
That's good.
And
You want to give me your inputs for the case statement?
The-
Yes.
I thought you already had my letter. No, you don't have my letter. Oh, you mean that, wait a minute.
You said you did some editing on
I did. I'm sorry.
it.
My head's in 4 different places.
No, that's all right.
But yes, I would do that. Give it to you as soon as I really like it. Right, definitely do that. And if there's anything else, I will catch up with them.
All right, the next meeting is February 1st, Candace.
That's a Thursday.
Is it Thursday? Are you- Okay.
Sure. that weekend. That's good.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
And we're keeping 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, I'm gonna be away a couple weeks in February, but not that week. Okay, so I think need to probably wrap up here pretty soon.
This is good though.
Hmm?
This is good.
Yeah,
The structure is good.
I feel like we needed a structure to kind of focus our energies on, and it's not for not wanting to put it into a timeline. It was hard to know how to put it into a timeline. All right, we'll save the joint, we talked a little bit about joint committees, but I think so next meeting and we get going, I will. Okay, so public comments. Do we have any? Yeah.
I was wondering where you are with the additional task put to the committee several months ago about gathering demolition and disposal costs and relocation expenses during construction.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any action taken on that.
Haven't done anything?
That would be something I would expect that the architect would help us with. But I think we're still probably months away from that.
I was of the impression that that was something that you would need to go to these ambassador groups with a large picture of all the expenses coming to the town, and John seemed to think demolition and disposal was not a architect.
Well, I mean, we haven't done any research about it other than to look at, online at demolition costs and things like that, but in my conversation with John Spear, also of several months ago, he said it was under our purview to plan for it, but not necessarily under our purview to raise money for it. So it might come.
No, but to determine the amount.
We need to
of money
determine the
needed
amount, yeah.
to
So that's,
rehouse the library during construction, if it were to be on that site.
we'll be looking into it.
I think that's something that when you schedule your ambassador groups. Needs to be talked.
I'm
about.
sure it'll come up,
It
Denise.
has to be, I
Yeah.
think it has to be presented, not that it might come up.
Well, I
Because I
guess we
don't
need
think
to
the
talk about
average
whether that
person-
in the purview of the committee.
But I don't think the average person, they're gonna build blah, 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 now, I go to an ambassador meeting and I listen to this and it's all well and good, but. I don't think it's gonna cross the average person's mind, how much cost out of their pocket. It's going to cost them to demolish and relocate. And
I think, I think,
overall, I think they think it's all encompassing, which it's not.
well, I don't know that it isn't, Denise. I mean, in my vision, I would say it doesn't cost us anything, of taxpayer dollars,
To demolish and relocate.
right?
The select board did say that the demolition was going to come.
It may be, but that would be again a select board decision if they wanted to pull money out of reserve or something like that to do demolition.
That was the original idea.
I don't think that's a.
But I don't think that's enough.
Well, they haven't done it. Yeah,
No.
they haven't
Yeah,
put it
I-
in reserve, so.
It's eventually gonna come out of the taxpayer's pocket.
I just feel we need updated figures, because a lot of misinformation flies around using 5-year-old figures now, and even amounts of money to run the building that are put out there are amounts that were necessary to run a school, not the current library, and I worry about misinformation being spread as
Yeah,
written in stone.
that would be something, demolition would also be something you could go after as an in-kind donation. I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, so I mean, there's. Yeah, but we've got people with the capability of demolition. That might be willing to do something like that, so.
And it's also gotta go somewhere, to some landfill, there's
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's-
mitigation of
that's-
the asbestos. 5 years ago, it was 25,000. 2 years ago, it was 50,000, so that's, have these spots upgraded.
I think a bigger concern that people are gonna ask is about relocation. Where is the library? For 2 years?
Yeah, I think that,
Construction is going on.
Right.
And all the activities.
Right.
Yeah,
everything.
that is-
Happening around the
that is a
lot of
big, that is a
activities.
big concern, I think.
But again, I see that as a select board issue, not a,
But they will have
But
this
I think
committee.
in the ambassador meetings, it will be something we need to be prepared to.
right,
And
respond
perhaps
to.
You need
people
to
in the
address it.
ambassador meetings will have solutions.
Oh, not
Which-
solutions, but ideas,
And
yeah.
ideas
Yeah.
and solutions, because some of them, you know, mention bringing in 40-foot vans and doing things. There's other places and it doesn't meet, you know, everybody's expectations, but to answer Penny's answers originally, and this is only originally in demolition, was when I was on the budget committee, they talked about pulling it out of surplus. But that was never designated in the surplus, and so that it goes back to what Jan just said, that's gonna be a budget committee and select board deciding what they wanna do for that. And on where the money comes from, and and yes, taxpayers might be for some of that cost, but we also in the fundraising might be able to get money that helps out with demolition. If we're,
I'm not so concerned about where the money comes from, as how much money is going to be needed.
and
And
there's
that is what the select board tasked this committee with 7 months ago.
and actually, if they did it last fall, and there is a standard square foot rate that architects use for demolition.
Right.
And so, and it's like $100 a square foot. But that is a moving target in today's world because it can change. And we have not even looked at that cost. Secondly, some of the demolition, some of the stuff can be recycled. If it's, and, you know, there's Habitat for Humanity that can help take some stuff or restore. And so it's a little bit bigger picture and and we're not ready to say where it's all going, because some stuff will go to a landfill, yes. But if we have an asbestos problem, that has to be done correctly, or this town will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars if the contractor does not dispose of asbestos correctly. My son's an engineer and he just says, you need to be really careful and get the right person because the fine comes on the town. He's an environmentalist, engineer, and so and nobody knows that until we open the box. And that's a
But we
huge,
know where it is, and when we started renovation, it was quoted from a company to mitigate the asbestos at 10,000 a room. So, I mean, I think these numbers are available. Even if they're not what it will be when it comes, if it ever comes to it. These 2 things are put on this committee as the facilities committee. And I don't see any progress toward even thinking about getting there, and I just think we need to look at the big picture and not just we're gonna raise $3.5 million and without impacting the tax dollar. And I was asking for an update to see where you were and see if it might be able to be added to your agenda in the near future.
It probably won't be next month because we're still working with these architectural drawings. We're trying to get going with meeting up with neighbors and friends over the next number of months. I would say it's a spring project as we start to assemble more information that we would look into that. But I'm with everybody else here. It's not right now our biggest concern. I know it's a big concern to you. I understand that, but it's just not on my docket right now.
Penny, were you willing to help? Would you
I'm
think?
fine. My plate is full.
Okay, I'm just asking, because you have a lot of the information, so,
I did it 2 years ago as we started renovation. It's not that difficult.
No. It's
you
not-
call the company.
yeah.
and
The
get it.
demolition is not a hard one to come up with.
And
Yeah, they're
that's
still
what
building
that
some kind of-
figure came from George Paul, not from an architect. It was the company that would be doing the work, and it was just an estimate, it wasn't set as a written estimate or anything, it was just ballpark figure.
Yeah, we have that in the future.
I just don't know how you can go before.
Well, we have our own agenda. We're trying to get through a certain amount of information before we think about.
But what are you going to say if these questions come up with your ambassador group? We just don't know.
I think there's gonna be a lot of unknowns in those ambassador groups. I mean, this is. This is very preliminary. The design is even preliminary. So I mean, I think, and that's gonna drive the cost. We really don't, you say 3 million. I don't really know if 3 million is the right number.
Well, 3.5, and I don't think it's enough, I mean, that does not include fire safety, you know, life safety system. A commercial kitchen, a lot of things that exist now.
Well, there might be phases of it too. You might not do it all at one time. I mean, those are a lot of unknowns.
All right, I think the date for our next meeting is November 1st. And so motion to adjourn. Yeah,
Before we do that, for the next,
items
meeting.
for next agenda. I don't know what I have in my mind, except that I'm gonna call Xander and find that out first and then,
because I think we need to be prepared with our questions, so we're not
right. So,
wasting his
so
time.
once I get in touch with him, can I just get to all of you?
I have a couple questions for him.
Wait a minute, I gotta get,
Well, no, I mean, you will remember this. What square footage is he proposing? What square footage is he proposing for what they're?
he's using
Things.
Gabe's,
I know, but when you tell him what we want, is he saying, yeah, possible, or
It's
geez, I think you need 1,000
what is
more, or you got 500 too many? I mean, I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean-
I haven't heard.
Have it
anything
right there.
that,
Yeah, what his response is.
Haven't heard anything that he thought Gabe's estimates were out of line or anything.
Okay, but I'm just conversation with him, you know, okay, and what's the current square footage cost? I mean, that keeps.
the amount per square foot,
Yeah.
is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Okay,
just above,
He's looking at 6,397 square feet.
okay.
and he's in the
And-
$400 a square
Square
foot
foot,
range.
Well,
yeah.
Gabe
Gabe,
gave us
450,
450,
450,
and so, and that was based on the building. in Dutch Neck.
and he's
Yeah,
not gonna
these
be
are
far.
more casual questions to, just so we
Yeah, yeah.
know where we're going.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, so it's
bring up the
but it's
cost of
based on,
Demolition, okay, well, yeah, I mean, we just need to know.
Well, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
no, don't put your hands up, because I'm just, you know.
so 6,300, almost 400
That's what
square
he's-
feet.
he's working with that
And
same.
about $450 a square foot is
Okay.
what the estimate is based on, yeah. And I've talked to a few
I guess the
builders and
question is, what's that
architects.
include? In my mind.
Yeah,
Well-
and we can't know that
Yeah.
until we get,
But it
more
really is
concrete.
very inclusive. They put
And
money
Gates,
in,
it
for-
did not include furnishings
he included,
or landscaping.
He
No,
did have that,
landscaping-
he did have that in the incidentals in the
Yeah,
number on the.
he had
back
some
page.
furnishings, but not all. I'd have to look at it.
yeah, I'm not asking for black and white, I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
it says everything that is
Yeah.
included, yeah.
My daughter is renovating a house in North Carolina now. So I think she thought it was gonna cost her 10,000, it's probably gonna be 25 before she's finished. I mean, it's just, you know, you just start doing it.
Yeah,
And then the more change orders you have.
All right.
That, that's why you want everything done on paper first.
Yeah, but, yeah, you too.
So you'll send out.
I'll send out,
Okay.
yeah, as soon as I talk with him. And then I have to go to the select board.
Okay.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
6:37.
Yeah, my nice kids.
And you can keep these two hard copies. I'm gonna-
Right.
Sandy. Sandy. And I keep these really, I put them up, print it out.
And I'm gonna do.
Thank
You can go buy my.